I wanted to come on and talk about the two paths to life, the path of self-love and the path of self-hate. And the path that you're going to choose will come down to a few things. Number one, it'll come down to your belief in yourself. It'll come down to whether you want to say yes to your life. And it will come down to the suffering that you are experiencing. And the suffering that we all experience inside of ourselves is shaped and influenced and informed by the story we tell ourselves inside of ourselves about ourselves. So events will happen, situations will happen, interactions with people at a negative level will also happen. And when I work with clients, any clients, teenagers and adults, I always try to help them understand one thing. They have a choice in every opportunity to look at the situation and reframe it, to take the higher perspective. We can look at the situation and we can feel impacted by the situation, and we can move into what is known as the victim consciousness. And the victim consciousness is when we personalise the events or the interactions that happen to us. And it feeds into the self-hate energy inside of ourselves. When we're on a path of self-hate, it's going to look like this. It will be informed by self-doubt, self-rejection, self-blame, having a fear of moving beyond our comfort zone, remaining stuck in the corner of your canvas being your life. When we have self-love, we have a strong belief in who it is that we are. We're deeply connected to this inner knowing of who we are, our capacity, our capability. We feel confident, we feel able. We can separate and not be subjective to the experiences that are happening to us. So really it is, we have internal space inside of ourselves to hold any difficulty that might be triggering us. A wonderful reframing that can move people into having this conscious awareness about themselves and our world around us. And that's the work I do. I move people into having this conscious awareness about moving from why is this happening to me, to understanding that, which I learned from a wonderful spiritual teacher back in my time. I learned that life isn't happening to you, that it happens for you. And that each person and situation and interaction is an opportunity for you to learn a little bit more. Oh wow, I felt rejected when the person said that. So it's not about becoming emotionally reactive and putting that hurt, because hurt people will hurt people. It's not about putting that hurt onto people. It's about recognizing that I am hurt in this situation, and I'm hurt because I hear the person. I hear and I'm experiencing that I am being rejected. So therefore, I have a fear of rejection. And when we learn to understand ourselves this way, and we learn to work with a process in this way, it empowers us to be able to feel more resilient and more capable. It's like we have accountability for the interactions, we have accountability for our own process. And the work I do is fundamentally about that. It is about bringing you home to the truth, to that wisdom that's so deep inside of you. There's a wonderful wisdom in there, and there's a wonderful little story around that, around this golden Buddha. And everyone prayed at this golden Buddha and loved this golden Buddha. And then they heard of an army coming into the village to invade it. So they all panicked and they covered the statue because they didn't want this precious statue of theirs to be robbed. And they covered it up with mud and cement. And the army arrived and it invaded this village for hundreds of years. And in time, the story of the golden Buddha became a myth. It became like a fairy tale. People forgot that it was the truth, that it was a real thing. And then eventually the army left. And one day a young monk was praying at the statue, and he stood up and he grabbed the statue as he was standing up, and a piece broke off, revealing the golden Buddha from within. The little boy ran to all the elders, shouting that the statue is golden, the statue is golden. The elders in that moment realised, we remember this story about the golden statue. So they all came to the statue and they began to take off the armour. I love this. I've heard it, this beautiful little story in a very old documentary called The Hero's Journey. And the metaphor of it is that we are all this golden Buddha. But because we show up in a world where we're going to have human experiences, we all armour up to protect this light within. We all armour up to protect our vulnerability. So, and that will lead to walking on a path of self-love or walking on a path of self-hate. When we are hating ourselves, we are moving further away from this golden light within. When we accept ourselves for where we are at and who it is that we are, and we can accept all of our aspects, the parts in us that we might find is challenging to us. You know, we might be a very shy person, we might be afraid of change, but if we can accept who it is that we are and where we're at, and we can hold compassion for our own humanity, in other words, that then will allow us to start recognising our own light within. That will allow us to soften in our own defence, in our own armouring up towards life. That will allow us to go from defensive reaction, defensive and emotionally reactive, to surrender and allowing and trusting, where we have this wonderful trust for life, but mostly we're having this new trust for our own self and our own ability. So how might we navigate this or go between the two? Well, it's very important to know the path you're on. So self-hate will look like, as I said, self-blame, self-rejection, self-criticism, where we personalise everything that's said to us. You know, we're in a place where we're only looking out at the world, you know, with this negative mindset. So our filter inside of ourselves, that filter that's like our being and making, is looking for the evidence to validate that maybe our statement is that I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough. So we're looking out at the world through that filter. So how do we move into the path of self-love? We move into the path of self-love by becoming aware of what it is we believe about ourselves. We become aware of the story that we're telling ourselves, because the story we're telling ourselves, if you remember what I said originally, will determine how we are going to experience our life around us. So if our story is quite negative, I promise you we'll suffer more on our path. So we become aware of that story. We can journal. We can begin to support our physical body with all that discomfort in it by doing things like breath work and meditation and wonderful affirmations in the morning. And, you know, of course, at first we're not going to believe in it all those wonderful positive affirmations, because we have so conditioned ourselves to believe in the negative. So we're trying to uncondition our emotional conditioned response towards our belief. We do that, we begin to start doing something very new with ourselves, do something brand new, go off on a walk with yourself, go off and have a coffee date with yourself, go and hang out and get to know the person that you are. Really get to know that person that you are. And when the negative thoughts come up, you know, reflect and write, you know, who am I when I listen to this? Who do I become? If I didn't listen to this, who would I be? And that visualization of that person that you might know is, oh, she would be more confident or he would be more outgoing. You hold on to that. And you get to learn all of the little ways inside of you that block you from allowing yourself to be that person. They're just little ways of connecting in with yourself and little ways of becoming consciously aware of the path or the story that you're telling yourself inside of yourself, which then dictates which path you're on. I hope this short video is of some benefit to you. Please feel free to, comment below or reach out.